I blocked Jay's phone number. That really helped me out. All right, buddy, it's Christmas week.
Merry Christmas, Fitz.
Merry Christmas, sir. So, if you're out there listening to this, there's a good chance you're finally sitting still here for 5 minutes. And that's not because the work is done, but it's because the noises may be finally quieted down, at least for a tiny moment or so here. So, this time of year has a way of doing that. It slows you down just enough to see the year for what it really was, the wins, the mistakes, the moments where you were proud, and ones where you could have done just a little bit better. Here's the truth most people won't say out loud. The year didn't teach us anything new. It just forced us to listen a little bit better. So today it's about just that. It's not about predictions. It's about resolutions, or not about resolutions rather, and it's definitely not about pretending everything went perfectly well. Today we're going to talk about what this year actually taught us, what worked and what didn't, what we're going to carry forward in the next season of life and business. Because clarity doesn't come from planning harder, it comes from paying attention. So, Jay, let's get into it, man. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to the Fitz and Franson Show. We're glad you're here with us, especially during this week. Nice either to take a break from the family that may be getting on your nerves and come join us, or we appreciate you setting aside some time if yeah, you're stealing some from them. So there's something different about Christmas week, isn't there, Jay?
There is. It just
Yeah.
feels different in the bones.
There's no doubt. So from a business perspective, there's the usual urgency gets replaced with a little bit of quietness around the office, and at home gets replaced. The quietness gets replaced with a little bit of noise. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's true. It's a time for reflection, not resolutions. Those come January 1st.
Yeah.
We're not here to pile on the pressure of a new year, new you type of language. We're not going to sell you on a gym membership, right? We're here to have an honest conversation about the year that was.
Yeah, exactly. So this episode is for the business owners, leaders, and those sales reps is too as well out there who are serious about their craft, and they want to get better by looking at what really happened this year.
Yeah. And there's something interesting about this that I want to note is that this isn't about judging the year. We're not here to nitpick or pick apart, everything that was bad about it. It's really about learning from it. So let's get started.
Yeah. All right, Jay. So, I'm going to put you on the spot here first.
Excellent.
If I figured you'd like that. If if you had to describe the entire year in one single sentence, all right, and we'll hold you to it, what would that sentence be?
One sentence for an entire year. I'd say my sentence for this year is opportunities are everywhere, but focus is everything.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, we have been exploring other avenues of marketing, other verticals. Been exploring a lot of tools. And those of you that have dabbled in AI this year, it's been kind of the year of an AI revolution. And when you talk to an AI tool, anything becomes possible, at least according to the AI tool.
That's right.
And so I realized that opportunities are everywhere, but you really have to focus becomes like the highest currency at that point. You have to be able to dial in. What are you doing?
Yeah, there's definitely something to that focus part of it. You can go down a lot of different rabbit holes and find yourself starting a lot of things, but maybe not finishing them. So that's a good point there, no doubt about it. So I appreciate the honesty. I think for me, if I'm going to give you a sentence, it was a year of opportunity and excitement, almost a start of a new roller coaster ride, so to speak. Those that know my story, I started the year with a current company and that I'd helped build over a 6-year period, and got to a spot where there was an opportunity for me to branch out and start my own thing. But I saw doing that as maybe, hey, leaving a world behind that had a lot of people that relied on me. And the thing that was really great about it was the discovery of there's a lot of people here that can step up and do the things they need to do. And maybe there was probably things they should have been doing when I was there, being overwhelmed by all the things I was, keeping on my plate, so to speak. So again, to shorten the sentence back to that one sentence, Jay, it's been an exciting roller coaster ride. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think quite a few people in 2025 could say it's been an exciting roller coaster ride.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. No doubt.
So now for the part everyone loves to hear but hates to admit. Let's talk about the hard lessons, the things that didn't go right. This is where the real growth happens, if we're being honest with ourselves. And it wasn't just us feeling it. The whole business world learned some tough lessons this year.
Yeah. I think there's credibility and the honesty, right? So, for instance, a big theme for 2025 was that adaptability was your superpower. We saw a ton of businesses get left behind because they were not flexible. What's a decision, Jay, that you felt like, maybe you made with Powerful or with one of our customers, help them steer, the ship through, so to speak, that felt right at the time. But if you were looking back at it, it just wasn't adaptable enough.
Yeah, great question. Tough question to answer. Marketing, I think that we can find a rhythm that works and then think mistakenly that it will last forever. And we had jumped into some pretty good rhythms in 2024 that were working well for us at Powerful. And I started 2025 out really with the intention of, I would say, maybe maintaining the status quo. And it quickly, within a few months, it became apparent that I should have been looking for more opportunities out there than I was. And so it was a small regret. Luckily, in 12 months, I was able to see the writing on the wall, so to speak, and start to jump into some other things. But I definitely felt like I started out too slow, and that was a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the nice thing is you get the opportunity to kind of make up the ground, right? I
Mhm.
think to give you credit, Jay, there is something there for you I should say for you in particular, you are very kind of inward looking and always evaluating. So I think you took that opportunity to say, okay, there is something I may have missed. And I would almost guarantee that's something you don't do very often in the future. There's no doubt about that.
Mhm.
So for you guys out there that are listening, what about yourselves, right? Where did you maybe move too fast and maybe avoid some conversations that you knew you had to have, or conversations that you didn't have that in hindsight you should have, right? So look, I will tell you, for me, Jay, one of the big lessons I think I took away from this year and my transitions and the conversations that we've had and some of the struggles that I know we've heard just organizations go through with the dogfight that the year was, steadiness seems to beat chaos almost 100% of the time. That loyalty and that loyalty versus, constant acquisition, I think is the um, thing that seems to be the steadiness in storms at times, right? And that base
Mhm.
that we all have around us, I think, is there for a reason. Those people that we trust around us, those people that have given us good advice, that have trusted us with their homes for a customer standpoint, I think is a big focus. For me personally, I was kind of focused on how do I take care of like this one thing in this chaotic storm at the beginning of the year to make sure that everybody else was taken care of, or the issue that was going to get us through the day was taken care of, and being able to kind of take a step back and allow others to do the things that they needed to do and maybe just focus on the one task at hand and be reliant on the foundation we have around us, I think is a really critical thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a big one. It was a tough year for a lot of our customers. And one of the things that we noticed here at Powerful, just throughout the year, it was revealed over and over again, is that keeping our existing customers happy paid off just tremendous dividends. And I wouldn't say it was, more valuable than chasing new ones, but I will say that it really was about building that community within the current customer base and making sure that those that we've been given charge over, you kind of talked about that, knew that somebody was there, knew that somebody was there to listen.
yeah, no doubt. So again, posing questions to you guys as we wrap up the year here. If we're thinking about things, here's something to think about. We had gains and losses, all of us did throughout the year. So if you were going to look at things like that, what were things that this year cost you? Make a list of them. Okay. Where did you know better, but you didn't act on it? And maybe here's a big one, or maybe not the biggest one, but definitely a big one for you. What lesson kept showing up over and over and over again until you finally had no choice but to listen? Look, we are all leaders and front runners, and we want to take the reins and run with the ball, whatever analogy you want to make here. And a lot of times that maybe cost of being stubborn is probably a fair statement, right? The thing that I would pose to you is those are learning opportunities. If you found yourself beating your head against a wall, that wall doesn't move very easily and it's likely going to present itself again. That's a learning opportunity. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And, kind of talking about opportunities here, something that Fitz and I have been super excited about has been the development of an effective revisit program and a customer referral program. Because,
Mm,
taking care of the customers you currently have That's a resource that you need to make sure you're leveraging. And so we're excited about that, Fitz. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good thing. I think, we were talking about this at the shoot, this was what, I guess a couple of weeks ago, months ago now at most. But I think one of the things that we take for granted is that we hand over names and phone numbers to our salespeople who are going to go out and meet with them, give a great presentation, get them to fall in love with them, fall in love with our products. And there's going to be a good portion of them that buy, and there's probably going to be a few of them that are interested that just need a little bit of follow up and love after the fact. Well, the expectation, Jay, is that the salespeople who make money when they sell things are going to do a great job of follow up, right?
Yeah.
And
Salespeople love details, I believe.
they do, and myself included in this mix, are really, really good at it. And I say that with the most amount of sarcasm that I can here, Jay. There are some of us out there that are very good at it, but historically, we are not the best at this. The reality of it is because of the way the system is built and the fact that we hand leads over to our salespeople that we've paid for, and they haven't had to do much to get them. We've created a bit of a monster where they're going to pick and choose the ones that they believe to be the best. And understandably so, because we're going to force them to choose their time wisely because we're going to continue to fill their calendar up because Jay and the marketing team are going to do a good job of making sure that happens. So what we've discovered in doing this is that there's gold in them there hills. And there's a lot of opportunity in those people that trusted us to come out. And most of us say it's a priority. We need to do a better job of it. But the reality of it is we don't. So, what lesson kept showing up over and over and over again? Jay, I know for myself as a person that was charged with leading those departments, there was things on top of our, priority board that just never, ever made it to full, fruition as far as a thought process goes to how are we going to make this a thing that we automate, partner with, whatever it might be. And our conversations have flushed that out. I mean, you can expand on that. I know a lot more based off of our conversations over the last couple weeks. What have you been seeing with it?
Yeah, I think that there's, to tie a bow on this conversation really for our listeners is, whether it's been a good year or a bad year or somewhere in between, what Fitz and I are doing all the time is be looking for things to try and opportunities to automate, and then simplify these processes. And what he and I are doing, and I think a lot of our customers are too, is we're looking for those strategic partners that can help us do it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's people out there that have figured it out. There's people out there that can point you in the right direction or partner up and make these things a whole bunch easier. You got to be focused on the next customer, the next day, the next thing, most of the time, much of the
Yeah.
time. So if there are ways to automate those things and partner with somebody, by all means, it never made it to the top of my list. And we were working really hard to try to get those things done and just never got the opportunity to do so. So don't
Yeah.
beat yourself up too much if you're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jay, we talked about the tough stuff. We've beat ourselves up enough. We've done the reflective, monk thing where, shame on me and so on
Hmm.
and so forth. Let's talk about some stuff that actually worked this year because there were some highlights this year. There's no doubt about that. So it's not about bragging, but we got to give some hope and clear direction forward. Fair enough?
Yeah. 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 Let's talk about the systems that finally stuck or the new habits that brought some calm to the chaos. It's kind of funny. This is personal ish, but one of the things that actually really paid off for me was fully understanding and leveraging my calendar. We've got a lot of owner operators out there that we help out, and they feel like their job is to just react from the moment they wake up to text messages, emails, phone calls, and they feel like they're just putting fires out all day. And there were some days for me that just felt like pure chaos and like I didn't have control. I've in the last year I started really leveraging my calendar to block off time to do focused work and to keep tasks organized. I'm as guilty as the next guy where somebody's like, "Hey Jay, did you take care of that thing?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I totally forgot." Right?
Yeah.
And you're leaving people stranded, and so that's kind of a silly one, but leveraging my calendar this year actually worked.
It's a good one. If it's blocked, it's important and it gets taken care of. And kind of a follow up question: did you find it in a weird way almost made you more accessible to your people too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the calendar was so helpful, and I've got team members that'll be like, "Hey, I saw there's a spot open on your calendar. I need to meet with you." And
It's a
like,
beautiful thing.
it wasn't chaos.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is what they end up finding out too is when they try to call you or text you or email you and you don't get back to them, when they can check your
Mhm,
calendar and see, oh, he's in back-to-back meetings, it's not that
mhm,
you're ignoring them, it's that you're busy, swamped, taking care of the things that they need you to take care of to get those things done. So it creates an understanding versus a void in culture, which is a huge thing. So, man, I love that. I really do. It speaks to the power of really the simplicity of consistency and communication. I think that that's a really powerful thing. No pun
mhm.
intended. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. So, well, Jay, look, for me and for our listeners out there, boundaries and for me, it's about energy. There's only so much energy to go around. I think one, particular for me that was really big this year, I blocked Jay's phone number. That really helped me out.
No, just no.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why you don't answer
Calls
my
me.
calls.
It calls me constantly. Yeah, I forwarded him over to Bill and Dylan. They're wondering why you
Yeah.
call him so much now.
Excellent.
No, look, there are certain things that recharge my energy, right? And I think
Mhm,
identifying what those are for you is a big deal. Your people need you at your highest levels when you're around, and you're also the tone for the day, the week, the month, whether it's going bad or good. And your energy is what people feed off of. And that works at home too. So if I'm not good there, I'm not good here and vice versa. And Jay, you do a good job of compartmentalizing. I need to make sure I have dedicated time that's blocked off. So one of the things I've done is I utilize the calendar as well too, and I make sure that if it's something I need to do at home, so I'll give you an example. My son and I, my son's name is Danny, so we have what's called triple D's, uh, Danny Daddy days or Danny Daddy, nights, whatever it is, but Danny Daddy days, triple D's. And if we're going to do one of those, it's him and I going to, Dave and Buster's or to a baseball game or something along those lines. The thing that I've given a lot of people maybe a lack of credit for over the years is if I put it on the calendar and it's blocked off and somebody sees it, nobody calls me. They know that's my time that I need that's dedicated for recharging and doing what needs to be done there. And that's been a really big thing. I think for me too, what it's reminded me is in a world of AI and automation and all of these things, that human connection and that time to disconnect, I think is as equally as important as all of those things that keep it connected and instant as we have today.
yeah. Yeah, and these are just a couple of things that we're gonna, we really are doubling down on next year. We're not playing lip service to a good idea. It's proven to work for us. And it's funny to say that when you leverage, schedules and boundaries and some tools to stay focused, it ends up actually being about doing fewer things and doing them better. Another thing, just to shift a little bit, but another thing that works specifically in the marketing space, and we're kind of talking about this relational aspect, is on the marketing space, we've added to our current portfolio of ad creation and creative to doubling down on making the buyer the hero as well, and making even the advertisements more human centric and more customer focused. I know sometimes we can get caught up in the excitement of what our product offers, shifting that focus on our marketing from our product more to our customers. That's been a big deal this year too.
Yeah. As much as again, we've gotten into the AI and the technology and it's getting better every single day. You make the comment all the time, just calling somebody by name on the messages
Mhm.
apps and platforms that we utilize to set appointments, saying our name. That's an important thing because people are looking for the human interaction. So anything we can do to make the human being the highlight of the story, I think in our journey that we're putting people through from marketing to the sales process, that's really the key to that connection. Business is important, right? But it's not everything. And we're doing a good job, I think, of mixing the conversation up here a little bit. What we always want to try to do, I think, for you and I, Jay, is always bring it back to that human element because that's what we're working for is provide for our families and for ourselves. But especially at this time during the holiday season, I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to let the business side of life really steal more than it deserves. We've talked in previous episodes, work-life balance is kind of not an accurate thing. And it's difficult to manage. And where do you feel that that had happened this year? And where did you have to pull back to focus on family, health, or even just being present in general?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I feel like at the end of every year, we go through the process of evaluating what worked or didn't work in business. And sometimes we probably neglect what worked or didn't work for ourselves. We have the New Year's resolutions that everybody tries to put together, probably haphazardly at the beginning of the year. But this is one that we could all probably do a slightly better job of. So I think that there's probably a process of, hey, what do I do to take a moment to sit down and check in on myself, my own mental health, my own time with my family, and compartmentalize those things. I've talked about it already a couple of times during the show today, but I think making sure that I'm checking on the different parts of my life to make sure I've taken the adequate amount of time and not buried my head into one area or the other. I think that is a thing that I don't do a great job of personally. I will find myself buried in work and driving. We're all, I think, those of us that are leaders and owners or managers or whatever in our world have gotten there because we like to work. We work hard. And I
Mhm.
think taking the time to disconnect and recharge and do those things gets pushed off to the side a couple of times here and there. And then before we know it, we've run our race for too long and it becomes a diminishing return, right? So
Mhm.
making sure we're checking in on those things from a personal standpoint for the family, for your own personal health, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, one of the things that I did, and I actually done this a couple of years ago when I was stepping into this role here at Powerful, is I actually had to put some physical like triggers in place to allow my brain to switch gears from work to home. Fitz, I know you've got your son Danny. I have a few more sons than you.
A
I
little
actually
bit.
have 5 sons. Yeah, two of them are out of the house, but they're home pretty regularly on weekends and stuff. And early on, I had regular interactions with my wife and my kids going, "Where are you? You're here, but you're not here." Had my laptop open or had my phone open, and it was work related. And so I started to make it a tradition of the laptop stays at work.
Mm.
And what it does a couple of things for you because there's always more work to be done, right, Fitz? There's
Oh
always
yeah.
more work to be done. It is endless. It will never end. And so setting myself up to separate work from home in that way, I had to be more productive at work.
Hmm.
It had to be done, whatever was on the list for the day, because I wasn't going to bring it home with me. I was going to make sure when I came home, I was present for the family. And so that was a big thing for me to just separate the two. It's a constant battle. And this brings up a question for everyone to really think about is what are you going to protect next year, 2026, no matter what? What's a non negotiable?
This is something I would encourage everybody to write down. I think there is a lot of power in the things that we write down. We think a lot of really great things.
Yeah.
We say a lot of really great things until we write them down and we have to stare at them on a daily basis. And you, again, write it down and put it somewhere that you would have to stare at it in a daily basis. It's not something we necessarily commit to. We did an episode, Jay, probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, where we talked about goal setting and those kinds of things. One of the things I had in my playing days, when I played baseball, I had a sheet that I used to keep for myself after practice every day. And I would come in and it was very simple evaluation sheet. And there was one answer, a win or a loss. And the idea of it was not whether or not I could have lost in a score of some kind, but just in an effort of some kind. And I was a catcher. So the whole idea here was there anybody who could have worked harder than I did that day, given more effort than I did that day? Another catcher somewhere in the country that would have worked harder than I did. You got to do a true evaluation, right? But I had wrote a mission statement at the top. I may not be the most talented. I may not be the biggest. I may not be the fastest. I may not be the strongest, but I damn sure will be the hardest working. Every day I have to sit and stare that in the eye and evaluate, is this true or not? Did I win or did I lose today? Out of all of the guys in the country that play the same role that I do or the same position that I do, could there have been somebody that did this better? So whatever your goal is or whatever your non-negotiable is, if you write it down and you look at it every single day, did I negotiate against myself today or did I not? Did I allow this to become a negotiable or did I make sure that it stayed in that non-negotiable category? I think those are really powerful things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. For me, Fitz, I think I'm, a decade or two older than you,
Mm.
You're just so young and healthy. I'm in my 40s. And a non-negotiable for me actually in 2026 is going to be my health. You and I both have stories in our 20s and our 30s where we made terrible decisions with our health.
Just a few.
Eating choices, drinking choices, physical activity choices. And I'm halfway through my life, most likely. And so I am going to make sure that I take care of my health. So to wrap this up, we want to leave you, our listeners, with a gift. Not a physical one, unfortunately, right? Maybe next year we'll be Oprah and then we'll be sending cars out to everybody. But this year, we're gonna give you something that you can take action on before the year officially ends.
Yeah. So we're going to give you three things. One will be a mindset to carry forward with you. A question to ask yourself before, well, I guess we said before January, you got a little bit of time to ask yourself
Mhm.
this question. And then one is going to be an action to start this week. You can start it this week, do it this weekend, or, continue it throughout the year, I guess would be the mindset.
That's good. I'll go first.
All right.
So the mindset for 2026 is lead with influence more than title. Have an attitude towards the leadership and the position you're in over others. Not to say do it because I told you to, but do it because the way that I lead is such that you want to follow me, right? And I think influence is a powerful tool. The question is, what is one thing you will say no to this year? I think that for us, the world, I like to say, fits on this show that life gives you too much life. There's, in our culture, there's FOMO, fear of missing out. And I think that it's important to look at the year in front of you and some of the opportunities and choose to deliberately say no to something this year. Be proud of it. Be proud of the ability to withhold your time, your attention, your finances. The action, and we talked about this earlier, more fully utilize your calendar in 2026. Set it up before January.
I like it, man. Those are good ones. They're going to be tough ones to follow. There's no doubt about that. So, all right. So here's mine for you. So your mindset: slow down. When the world around us, I think, gets very, very chaotic, things tend to speed up. Especially us, our heart rate gets going, the beads of sweat on the forehead get going, blood pressure rises. All of those things end up happening for us. And I think if you allow yourself, or convince yourself rather, to take a breath, take a step back, sit down for a second. A lot of times, what we end up finding is that the speed at which we feel things are happening is really the speed at which we are making them happen. We are visualizing them happening. So if you can harness that power of slowing things down, asking one more question, many times what you're going to find is that the answer that you had thought first is going to be the most accurate, the easiest way out, and probably could have been done much sooner than it happened in the initial thought process there. So slow down. That's your mindset. Two, the question for you from me: are you where you want to be? Now, this isn't necessarily a question of where do you want to be, eventually, but how are you where you, yeah, yeah. Well, especially you, because it's what, -10 up there right now. So for those of you who don't know, Jay's in Minnesota, I'm in Richmond, I'm freezing down here, and we're, 50 degrees warmer than he is. But are you where you want to be is not necessarily a question of where do you want to go, but are you where you want to be right now? And I think for some of us, when we complain about the things that are going on, whether it's at work, life, somewhere in between, or a combination of the two, we actually find ourselves in the exact spot that we intended to be. Right? You might like the complaining and the misery because it's easier than picking up the shovel and moving the pile that's in front of us. That's a hard question to answer, honestly, at times. And if you're not where you want to be, then you got to do some things to get where you want to go. And the fourth thing, right? So an action that you can take this week, and for me, the one that you can maybe take moving forward for you as a little daily activity is you're going to write down three things every day. One thing that you did for yourself. If you're not good for yourself, you can't be good for the next three. One thing you did for your family, and then one thing you did for the collective them. And that collective them can be your company, your community, somebody else, right? But be good for you, be good for your family, and be good for them. And if you can write down one thing you did for everybody in that order, generally it's going to have been a pretty good day. Not every day is going to be a win, but if more of your 7 days in a week are, chances are you're going to have a pretty good year at the end of the year.
It's really good. Love it.
So look, I think that the goal isn't to start the next year louder or off with a huge bang. It's really to have a clear vision at where you're starting and where you want to end up and the path at which you're going to take to get there.
Yeah, to be honest, if this year has taught us anything, it's that clarity comes from paying attention, not actually from doing more.
Yeah. Look, Jay, I always appreciate spending the time with you. But for those of us that, or for those of you that listen and tune in, we thank you for spending some valuable time with us throughout the year, but also especially this week. And Merry Christmas from me and my family, and I wish you a Happy New Year as well.
Christmas from me and mine as well. And we will see you all in the next season.
Happy hunting.
See ya.